Good morning, friends. Today we are going to take a look at Math Chapter 2, Lesson 11. In this lesson, we are going to work with word problems. Now, this is our first real full lesson using word problems. And I wanted to make sure we did this together, at least through a video lesson, so that you could see what you will be expected to do every year, every time you're using word problems, because this is a strategy that is used all the way throughout the elementary school and all the way throughout the high school. So today we're going to review comparison and then do some comparison word problems together after I introduce you to a strategy. So I have a song to start you off about our number-eating alligator.
There once was a number-eating alligator. He didn't like pizza or mashed potatoes. A hungry number-eater, and nothing was sweeter than to chop those numbers down. At eating time, the gator was always thinking greater when two numbers came around. He compared the two, then decided to chew the greatest one right down. Mr. Alligator, open wide and chomp, chomp, chomp. Mr. Alligator, open wide and chomp, chomp, chomp. The greatest number down.
All right, friends. So today we're going to use Mr. Alligator to help us chomp, chomp, chomp the greatest number. Before we start comparing, let me introduce you to our strategy. This is called cubes. When we solve word problems, we're going to use the acronym cubes. I can solve one-step word problems. Can everyone read that with me? I can solve one-step word problems. Well, friends, that's our goal today. And these word problems are going to be with comparing. And we are going to use cubes in order to solve it. You have that on the math offices I sent home for you. And I've mentioned it on Dojo quite a few times. Our C stands for carefully read the problem twice. The first time we read the word problem, we're really just trying to get our words. The second time is when our brain really starts taking the information in. You underline the question. So you want to locate the question in the problem and underline it. Then box key information. So you'll simply draw a box around important information like keywords, numbers. That way it's easier to go back and find it while you're solving your problem. Our E stands for evaluate. Well, that's a big word. What it means is, what steps do I need to take? So you need to decide, how do I go about solving this? And then finally, we solve and check our work. We are going to use cubes today as we continue to solve our word problems, and we're going to focus on the process and what we do to solve. We're going to do a few together right now. So the first thing I want to do when I see a word problem is I'm going to write my word cubes. Well, when I see my C, it reminds me I carefully read my problem 2 times. So I will read it the first time. You follow along. At a zoo, there are 173 birds and 124 reptiles. Are there more birds or more reptiles at the zoo? See if you can read along with me this time. At a zoo, there are 173 birds and 124 reptiles. Are there more birds or reptiles at the zoo? So we've carefully read our problem 2 times. Now we need to underline our question. So let's go back. Our question's at the end of the word problem, and I see my question mark. So I'm going to go back to the beginning of that sentence and underline. Are there more birds or more reptiles at the zoo? So that let me know that I'm looking to see if there's more birds or more reptiles. That also helps me know that I'm comparing. So check, I underlined box key information. So I'm going to go back and see what the problem told me. At the zoo, there are 173 birds. Well, I know that that's important, so I'm going to box 173 birds and 124 reptiles. That is also important, so I'm going to box it. Are there more birds or more reptiles at the zoo? Box my key information. Now evaluate. Well, what is this question asking me to do? So I'm going to think through. They want to know if there's more birds or more reptiles. They told me how many birds. They told me how many reptiles. So if I'm saying which one's greater, that means I'm comparing. So I know yesterday in our lesson, when we compared our numbers, it was easiest to write one number on top of the other number so that we could look at the numbers lined up by place value. We started in our hundreds place, and I see a 1 in both hundred places. So that tells me I need to move to my tens, where I see 7 tens and 2 tens. Those are different. 7 is my bigger number. And I know I'm looking for my bigger number because they want to know which has more. So, are there more birds or more reptiles? Well, the 173 is the birds, and 173 is bigger because 7 tens is more than 2 tens. So there are more birds at the zoo. So they're not looking for a number here. They're looking for the word. So my friends, what I want you to do right now is listen carefully as we go through a couple more word problems and see if you can help me out, because we are going to do cubes some more. We evaluated by thinking through and solved. So let's see if we can apply this to another word problem. Madison's book has 205 pages. Landon's book has 209 pages. Whose book has fewer pages? Once again, we're going to cube our word problem by carefully reading it 2 times. I already read it once. You're going to read it with me this time. Madison's book has 205 pages. Landon's book has 209 pages. Whose book has fewer pages? So we carefully read it twice. Now we're going to, what does that U stand for? Yep, underline the question. Whose book has fewer pages? Well, we underlined our question. We need to box key information. And before I go any further, I heard a really important word in that question, and it was the word fewer. So I'm going to box fewer because that's going to help me. Now let's go back in our problem and see if there's any other important words in here. Madison's book has 205 pages. Well, since I'm seeing who has fewer pages in their book, I would say that that's important. Landon's book has 209 pages. So we will also box that. So we boxed our key information. Now let's evaluate. We are looking for whose book has fewer pages. So just like when we're talking about greater, now we're talking about fewer, we are comparing. They gave us the numbers 205 and the number 209. So we are going to write our numbers one above the other in order to look at the place value to compare. So we've evaluated by deciding that. So now I will go ahead and write 205 and then 209. Now, what steps do we take? Where do we start for comparing? Yes, our hundreds. I see 200s and 200s, so where do we go next? Yes, if the hundreds are the same, we move to the tens. We see 0 tens, 0 tens, also the same, so where do we go, friends? To our ones. We see 5 and we see 9. Do not underline anything yet. Let's remember, what are we looking for? Oh, look at, I boxed fewer. So if we're looking for fewer, is that bigger or smaller? We're looking for the smaller number this time. So which one's smaller, 5 or 9? 5 is smaller. So whose book has fewer pages? Madison's book only had 205 pages. So Madison's book had fewer pages, is what we will write here. So we solved. So for each of these problems, we used cubes, where we carefully read our problem 2 times, underlined the question, boxed key information, evaluated, and solved. Now we're going to try some problems together. I need you to get out your math workbook, and you need to tear out lesson 2.11, which is worksheets 135, 136, 137, 138, 139, and 140. You can push pause while you're doing that, and then push play when you're ready to come back, and we'll look at them together. All right, friends. We are going to take a look at page 135. You can see right here. I made my page really big on my screen so that you would be able to see exactly what we were doing as we moved along. You'll notice that this page looks different than a lot of our first pages in our math workbook because this is a problem-solving page. And it's important that we focus on word problems because they tend to be the trickiest for children when we are comparing numbers, when we are using words with numbers. So by doing particular lessons on them and using strategies like cubes, it allows us to slow down our thinking. It makes the children slow down each step so that we don't miss something when trying to solve. So the first thing we're going to look at, friends, is our first problem. Can you please follow along as I read the word problem to you? Children bought 217 boxes of chocolate milk and 188 boxes of plain milk. Did they buy more boxes of chocolate milk or plain milk? Well, I see that this is a word problem. So I know I need to use my helper, which is cubes. So I'm going to write right over here, cubes. I know it was a word problem because I just read it. So now I need to read it again. This time, please read along with me with any of the words that you know. Children bought 217 boxes of chocolate milk and 188 boxes of plain milk. Did they buy more boxes of chocolate milk or plain milk? So I carefully read my problem 2 times. What's my next step in cubes, friends, when I'm solving problems? Underline the question. So I see my end question. I'm going to follow it back, and let me read to make sure. Did they buy more boxes of chocolate milk or plain milk? Yep, that's a question. So I'm simply going to underline it. In your workbook, can you underline the question with me? Can you also write cubes like I did? And now you can check off the C because we carefully read it twice. And you can check off the U because we underlined the question. Our next step, remember, is to box the key information. So we're going to go back. Do you see any key information in our word problem? Well, I see 217 boxes of chocolate milk. I know that's a long one, but that was important. And I also see 188 boxes of plain milk. Now, did they buy more boxes of chocolate or plain milk? I see the word more, and this is a key word helping me know that I am comparing. So we boxed our key information. Now, on our worksheet, they have us go through these steps in a little bit different way. So let's just take a look at the way they talked us through it before we move on to E and F. We need to ask ourselves, what do I need to find? If the children bought, read along with me, more boxes of chocolate milk or plain milk. That was just like us underlining the question, friends. It also says, what information do I need to use? Well, what numbers did we box? Let's see, blank boxes of chocolate milk. Yes, 217. So I can fill in this line. And blank boxes of plain milk. How many boxes of plain milk did they buy? Yes, 188. Sorry. Now, show how to solve the problem. We're going to evaluate now. I know I'm comparing numbers. I can draw a picture to show my numbers. My numbers were 217, so I drew 217. I can draw 186. I can also write my numbers over here to compare. So I have 217 and 186. So we just evaluated our problem by going through and drawing a picture and also writing our numbers so we can compare them. Remember, we are looking for which they bought more of. So where do we start? Yes, in our hundreds. I see 200s and 100. These are not the same numbers. So which one is more? Because we're looking for more. The 217 is more. So what does 217 go with? Boxes of chocolate milk. Solved. So on my line, we're writing, the children bought more boxes of chocolate milk. Now, I know that was fast. I'm going to move my page down. And if you need a few minutes to do any more of these steps, okay, then it's right here on the board. You can push pause, and then whenever you're done filling in your information, you can push play again, and we will move on together to the next page. Great job, friends. Now we're going to take a look at the back of our first page where it says try another problem. We are going to take a careful look, use our cubes problem-solving strategy, and compare some numbers. Our directions say model the numbers. Draw quick pictures to show how you solve the problem. This is important. They are telling us exactly how they want us to solve the problem. So I cannot solve it in a different way. When the directions are telling me to draw quick pictures, then guess what we need to do? We need to draw quick pictures to solve. Sometimes they won't tell you exactly how to solve. Then you can choose the way you would like to solve. What's our first job? Oop, I see words. So what do I need to write? Cubes. Great job. So I'm going to write cubes over here. Our first job when it comes to a word problem is yell it out to me, friends. Carefully read our problem 2 times. So follow along in your book as I read. At the zoo, there are 137 birds and 142 reptiles. Are there more birds or more reptiles at the zoo? Well, friends, we read a problem like this earlier. There's different numbers though, so it sounds familiar. We've carefully read our problem once. Time to read it again. Here we go, friends. Read along with me. At the zoo, there are 137 birds and 142 reptiles. Are there more birds or more reptiles at the zoo? Check off your C. We've carefully read our problem 2 times. What's our next step in cubes? Yell it at me. I didn't hear you. Good. We're going to underline our question. So we're going to go back. I see my question mark. Are there more birds or more reptiles at the zoo? So here we go. We're going to underline our question. And check. What's the next step? Yell it out to me. Box key information. Do you see any key information in here we should be boxing? Take a look at your problem. You should have boxed 137 birds and 142 reptiles. And then in the question, box the word more. Good job. Now we need to evaluate. Well, it's a little bit easier this time because they told us what to do. We need to draw quick pictures to show how we solve the problem. Now to evaluate a little further, I know I am comparing because they want to know if there are more birds or more reptiles at the zoo. So let's draw a quick picture to represent our numbers. Our first number is 137. So let's draw our quick picture. 100, 3 tens, 7 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you are not done drawing yet, or you need more time at any point during this, just push pause on the video and take your time, and then push play when you're ready to keep going with the lesson. We just drew 137 to represent the birds. Now we need to show the reptiles. I see 100, 4 tens, and 2 ones. Now it's important that we don't put them close together so it doesn't look like just one long string of dots. Let's take a look. Now we need to compare. We've evaluated. Where do we start? In our hundreds. I see 1 and 1. That's the same. We move on to our tens. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ding, ding, ding. This one's different. What are we looking for again? More. So the bigger number. 3 or 4? 4 is bigger. So our bottom number was 142. So our question was, are there more birds or more reptiles? Well, there are more reptiles. So I need to take my word reptiles and carefully write it over here on this line after more. And I should spell it right because it's right there on the problem. If you need more time on this problem, you can push pause. If not, keep on going with me. We just solved our problem. Now, let's take a look at number 2. I see another word problem. Our first job, write down cubes. What's our first step in cubes? Carefully read our problem 2 times, so let's do it. Tom's book has 105 pages. Delia's book has 109 pages. Whose book has fewer pages? There's our first read. Let's read it again together. Tom's book has 105 pages. Delia's book has 109 pages. Whose book has fewer pages? We've carefully read our problem 2 times. It's time to underline the question. Our question is, whose book has fewer pages? Did we underline? Yep. Time to box key information. Push pause and box the key information, and then when we come back, we'll check it together. All right, friends, you should have boxed 105 pages and 109 pages. Now, did I trick you? Did you stop there? I hope not. We also should have boxed fewer as our key word. Now, we boxed our key information. What does our E stand for? Evaluate. Well, I know that we need to draw a quick picture because the directions told me so. But let's think beyond that. I know I'm comparing pages. I need to find how many fewer. That's the key word that told me I'm comparing. Which one is fewer? So I'm looking for which one is less. So we're going to draw quick pictures. Tom's books, 105. So I've got my 100, no 10s, and 5 1s. Then I have Delia's book has 109 pages. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Whose book has fewer pages? Well, I need to figure that out by comparing. So we evaluated 100, 100. No 10s, no 10s. Where do we go next? To the ones, good job. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whoa, that's way more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're looking for fewer, our key word. So which one's fewer, smaller? 5. So whose book has fewer pages, friends? Tom's book. Nice job. So today we took a look at our word problem solving strategy, cubes. Please make sure that when you do your homework pages, page 139 and 140, You are writing cubes for each problem, and you are carefully going through and reading your problem 2 times, underlining the question, boxing key information, evaluating, and then solving. I will be looking for that and for your ability to compare your numbers when you turn in your homework today. Great job today, my friends. I'm so proud of you. And I will see you next week for some more math fun. Bye.